While the early church thrived on the partnership of men and women spreading the gospel, many of those women's voices were gradually silenced, not by God, but by history. As centuries passed, their stories were buried under layers of interpretation, translation, and tradition. Yet if we listen closely, we can still hear them. Take Junia, for example. Paul calls her outstanding among the apostles in Romans 16:7. For hundreds of years, her name was changed to Junias, a masculine form that doesn't exist in ancient records. Why? Because some later scribes couldn't imagine a female apostle. But Junia was real, and Paul honored her leadership openly. Then there's Thecla, a devoted follower of Paul whose story was beloved in early Christian communities. According to ancient writings, she defied social norms, rejected an arranged marriage, and began preaching the gospel herself. Crowds gathered to hear her teach, and she baptized herself in defiance of persecution. Her courage inspired women for centuries, until her story was labeled legend and faded from church memory. And what about Nympha, mentioned in Colossians 4:15? Paul greets the church in her house, not his, hers. In a time when public gatherings were risky, Nympha opened her home, pastored her community, and nurtured a local congregation. Even in the post-biblical era, women carried the torch. Macrina the Younger, a 4th century theologian and sister to Basil and Gregory of Nyssa, was called the teacher by her own brothers, both of whom became church fathers. Macrina's wisdom shaped early Christian doctrine, yet her name is rarely taught today. And in the medieval church, mystics like Hildegard of Bingen were visionaries and preachers, authorized by popes, respected by kings, and yet later downplayed as holy women rather than theologians. From the apostles to the mystics, women have never stopped preaching, prophesying, and leading, even when history tried to rewrite their names. The record may have been edited, but the calling never was. Women were apostles. Women were theologians. Women were preachers. And they still are. Their voices echo through scripture and tradition, waiting for us to remember them. Because when God's Spirit moves, no gender, title, or institution can silence it.